Okay, so somebody asked how to create acrylic, and I'm just going to go through this quickly because this is a little bit different to normal plastic, as if you look here, you can actually see into the surface. So we're going to create this. I'll show you quickly some tricks to do to create this here so you can see through this, and you can see the one behind it. You can see through the white into the red. You also get, either lightly colored and see-through acrylic. It does get used as window replacement. You've all heard of plexiglass, and plexiglass is normally made of acrylic. So here you can clearly see the light coming into the material, and that you can see through one material into the next. Okay, so the easiest way to do this is we're going to grab a V-Ray material and I'll assign it here to this first object. And what we're going to do is, double click on it so it brings up the material in the parameter editor over here. And then what we're going to do is we're going to turn on refraction. And we're just going to put a color in this. And I think if we go yellow, bring up the saturation. Just double click on it so it becomes bigger and we can see more what's going on. Show shaded material in viewport and show background in preview. So we've got it here, we've got refraction on, and I'm just going to right click, click copy and put that in the diffuse. Because basically, to the degree, right click and click paste. That's odd. Okay, just drag that up to here. Copy. Okay. To the degree this isn't white, it's going to show the diffuse. So that's why we want the same color or the same color or a similar color, maybe with the same color but darker here. But you've got basically here, you've got, because of the saturation, because of the value, you're looking at something like 50% or something this color, and the rest of it is the diffuse color. So we can just click on this if we like, and we can make this a bit darker, make it maybe a bit redder. And that's completely acceptable. Now the other thing which you need to pay attention to in all materials is the reflection amount. If you look at the reference images that we had up here of acrylic, you'll see this one's fairly matte. This one here, you can see sharp reflections in it here. This one here looks fairly matte, but it could just be a dull photo. That looks like a reflection. And we just want to see how reflective it can be. That's the light in the room. That's fairly reflective. That's fairly reflective, fairly reflective. So it can be fairly reflective. Or very glossy, let's put it that way. It's not so reflective, but it is very glossy. So if we take a look at this, I would push the glossiness, leave the glossiness at 1 and bring the reflection up to about there, maybe a bit higher. And that's assigned here to this one. And then I'm just going to shift and drag that over, double click this, and I'm going to select the second glass there, assign it to that one, and this one we want to be red. So I'm just going to select a nice strong red. That will do. And copy this, what I'm saying about the colors there, paste that into there. Alright, and then let's just see what happens when you click F9. Okay, now you can see through the yellow very well, but you can't see through the red very well. So we're just going to handle that. Let's just double click here on the yellow. And the reason that you can't see through the yellow very well, you can, is because the yellow is much lighter. This is just lighter than the red is. So I'm going to bring this down here. And again, it's important to have that color up here, because as this one comes away, becomes less and less white, you're going to have more and more diffuse showing. So make sure that diffuse is nice. Okay, now I would like to see a little bit more of the red there, so I'm just going to click on the refraction, bring this up a bit. You can see some red, right? It's just not as much as I was expecting. So that's better. You can see some of it coming through there. And if we look at our reference image, here you can see a fair bit. Here you can see some of the white coming through right there. Here you can see some of it coming through there. So it's not a set amount. You can't say this is exactly how you do it. You have to decide for yourself. And to do that, you need to be looking at your reference images and comparing them with your render. So we're just going to create a few more acrylic materials here. This red, I wanted to make it a little bit deeper red, a bit stronger, like that. I'm just going to assign this here to this bottle, and we're going to make this green. And I'm going to copy that, put it in there. And the next one here, we're going to assign it to this, and make it purple. I changed the wrong one. I thought I'd reselected this one, but I hadn't. Now to copy these over, what I'm doing is I'm pressing left mouse button and then shift. So I'm doing shift, click and drag, and that makes a copy of it. And then when I want it to appear here, in the editor, I just double click and it comes up. So I'm going to make these slightly more reflective. And realize that even though I bring these up to white, that doesn't mean it's completely reflective. If you take a look, that's not completely reflective. If you want it to be completely reflective, you have to turn off this Fresnel reflections. And now it's completely reflective. But if you want it to get more reflective than this, the best idea here is you just unlock Fresnel IOR and push this up. There are other ways around it. You can turn this off and make this color much darker, or make the color here darker. And, if I turn this off, it depends here on this color as to how much. This is how much it's reflecting the scene and how much you see diffuse. So with it all the way up, you're seeing the scene completely and no diffuse. But Fresnel cuts it right back to make it apply for woods and so on and so forth. But if you want it to be more reflective, like I said, you can come and you can push this up a bit. That will increase the reflective amount. I think let's just, for the fun of this, just to show you, let's make these, unlock that and make these 2. And let's turn off this. Now remember, we want to be seeing through these. Okay, here you can see the wood behind there. So that's fine. I think what we'll do is make this just a little bit lighter here on the refraction. And we're going to do the same with the green. Okay, I think that will work fine. We'll see that in a minute. I'm just going to shift and drag this over. And here we can apply this to there. Oh, these are in one group. Open. Okay, so what we're going to do here is we're going to go for this other image like this. So in order to achieve this, what we need to do, what I want to do, is I'm going to copy that over and I'm going to put it into the fog one. And this, now, if you're using fog, this needs to be white. Okay. Otherwise, it's just going to come out wrong. And if we render this now, okay, it's doing that and coming black because the faces are flipped. So we can unflip the faces here. If you're using fog and you get black, it's because your faces are flipped. Just assign a material to these. Press F4 so I can see what I'm doing. Okay, assign this to there. Okay, press F4 again. So if I select these 4 items, if I press F4, you can see they're selected by the color of them. And then I'm going to right click, Object Properties, and I'm just going to turn on Backface Color and click OK. And you see this one here flips around and looks inside out. So what we're going to do is, I'm actually going to just put on a normal modifier, and that will flip the normals for me. Then I'm going to right click, convert to edit poly, and you can see that it's no longer inside out. So we take these. The other thing, sometimes it doesn't render out black like this. Sorry. Sometimes it doesn't render out black. Sometimes it renders out like chrome. So we reassign this to these, and now you'll see that problem of that black object there is handled. So that works out quite nicely. This is a bit dark here at the base for me. So I'm going to try this fog bias up at 10. See how well that changes. And so now that's changed it quite nicely, but now it's too see-through. So I'm going to take this fog color and just darken it. Still a bit see-through, so the other way of doing it is I'm going to take this fog multiplier, let's put it up to 3. So the reason I put this bias up here is because even though I do want it becoming, changing color and getting thicker and darker, I don't want it doing it to the degree it was doing it. So I push that up, and now it's not dark here, but it does get darker. It is darker here than it is up here. Okay, so that's another type of acrylic. I'm just going to shift drag that over, and we're going to take this one and let's do one this color, kind of tealy color. Copy that, paste that up here. And this one we're going to assign to here and here. And press F9. Now there's a possibility that because these colors have changed and these are, different densities and different darknesses, that I'm going to have to play around with a multiplier and a bias with this. But in this case it looks fine. I don't need to do that. But you do need to know that, if you're playing around with this, that's something which you may have to do. Okay, so I'm looking through this acrylic. You see light passes into the outside area here. Light here is coming into the blue. It's coming into this orangey skin color reference here. It's just passing here, it's coming into it, light's passing through, but as it comes away from the edge it gets thicker. It becomes harder for it to do that. And so what we're going to do is we're going to take a copy here of this material. I've pressed shift again and left mouse and dragged over, and I've assigned this to our new object. And what we're going to do is we're going to turn this multiplier down to 1, and then we're going to use this translucency, and we're going to put hybrid model. And we're going to take this color, and I'm going to copy this into the backside color here. Copy. And now what happens when we click render is we get this. And here on the edge, you can see the light coming in. But here, light's passing into the object. And you can start to see this color here. This is from the back of the object. So we're going to stop that. And we're going to just take this multiplier down to 0.1, just lower this just so you can see what's going on. Press F9. I really like the way that was looking. So here it's still trying to do the same thing, but the fog multiplier is way, way, way lower. And so it's just having a little bit of a hard time doing it. It's going based on the details I have. This is what it should look like. Now it's possible that's not an error. It's possible that's the refraction of the table. So let's put this back up to 5.5 rather. So you can see as it's going along and rendering and calculating, it's building this all up and saying actually you can't see the wood through here yet. But here on the edge you can see that you can see into the object. So this is a very cool way of doing it. I like this a lot. And this is exactly the sort of material I would use, I would create. If I wanted this kind of acrylic, or if I wanted plexiglass, this is how I'd go about doing it. So what we're going to do is just take this, drag it over. Okay, I've copied the material, double clicked it. This is now assigned. I'm just making these purple. I got this, I clicked here. Adjust it to that. And now, if we just see what this one looks like. Okay, See down here some differences going on. Let's stop this. I want to make this more translucent, so moving that over there. Assign this to this one. And this one here, double click, make sure I've got it assigned. We're going to just make this bluish. There we go. Copy that. Copy. Copy it over here. Copy. And the fog multiplier, we'll drop that down to 0.3. And then drag that over. And assign this to this one. And this one we're going to go, I think, a yellow. Just drag that down here. Copy. And over there. And then make sure that's on there. And then we're going to look here and make sure this is clicked for your region render, and just left click and drag over the region you want. Oh, it's been assigning it to all the instances. So up here I've got propagate materials to instances. So because these are instances, every time I assign a new material, it's chucking them onto everything. So that's the yellow. This one here we want to be the blue. And this one here we want to be the purple. And so now if I click F9, okay, you can start to see what's happening. The blue and the yellow are set to 0.3 over here. I'm going to change the yellow to 0.1. And this one here, I'm going to make that 0.4. I'll just render that again. But bear in mind the color, the darkness again of the fog also has an effect here. So that's how I would create acrylic. That's how I would go about creating plexiglass. For fun here, let's go top view. What we're going to do is we're going to just create a box. And let's bring this up. I've got displacement here on a table, that's why everything seems to be floating, but it doesn't in the render. Okay. So with this, what we're going to do is we're going to assign a clear plexiglass to this, just so you can see what I would do. For plexiglass, if I look here, let's just Google it. The reason I'm doing this is because plexiglass is a type of acrylic. So there we go. See, it's got this color, this green. So what we're going to do is make it this kind of green. And just copy that over there, copy that over there. And for this, I'd probably turn this off, just use fog. And let's put this back to 1. I think that's going to be too much for this. What's the thickness here on this box? 20, so let's make it 1 centimeter. Okay, and let's just make sure our region's turned off. Let's render that. Okay, let's just stop it. And I'm going to go here in the top. I want you to get more of a view, more of an idea of what's going on. Let's do it like that. And let's reduce that so it's only showing in part of the render. There we go. Okay, and let's press F9. And there you go, you're getting the color here on the edge, and here you're getting clear in the middle. And so that's how I would create plexiglass. That's exactly what I would do. One thing I forgot to mention in all of these materials, because I'm using refraction, I'll come along and turn off this effect shadows. So what effect shadows does is it says here it allows the material to cast transparent shadows to create a simple caustic effect. Now, really, it doesn't do this very well. And so I turn it off, and that allows it to cast shadows. I wouldn't do that for glass panes or windows or anything. I don't obviously want those casting shadows, but I do it for glass objects which sit around a room, because then it just helps them sit in the space better. So what I do is I take these, I just make sure these are turned off whenever I'm doing glass objects in the scene. And that's what these are glass objects. And like I say, for window panes, I would normally leave that on. So I'm going to render this out and show you guys what it looks like. But that's how I create plexiglass, that's how I go about creating acrylics in 3ds Max and V-Ray. And don't forget, hit that subscribe button.